All right, let's jump right in. We're going to talk about something that's, right at the core of the US-India relationship. And it's not what you might think. Not a big treaty, not some massive trade deal. It's actually a single document, the H-1B visa.
So think about it. What's that one thing that really connects Silicon Valley with, say, New Delhi? The answer might surprise you. It's a work visa. And this visa, well, it's become this amazing bridge for talent, but at the same time, it's a huge source of tension.
Okay, so to really get why this is such a big deal, we got to start with the basics. Let's kick off with Section 1 and break down what exactly the H-1B is and why people call it a superhighway for skilled talent.
So at its heart, the H-1B is a temporary work visa. It's basically the main way US companies can bring in skilled workers from other countries, when they can't find that talent at home. And we're talking about jobs that need really specialized knowledge.
So how does it actually work? Well, it's pretty specific. First off, it's not for any old job. It's for what they call specialty occupations. We're talking IT pros, engineers, doctors, that kind of thing. It's also temporary, just 3 years, though you can extend it to 6. And here's the kicker. You can't just apply for one yourself. A US company has to sponsor you. That's a huge deal.
Now here's where it gets really interesting. The H-1B is a global visa, right? People from all over the world can apply. But one country, just one, has come to completely dominate the whole program. For them, it's become an absolute economic lifeline.
Just look at this, 75%. That is just a staggering number. Think about that. 3 out of every 4 H-1B visas go to professionals from India every single year. It's not just a big piece of the pie, it's practically the whole thing. It shapes the entire program.
Yeah, this really drives it home. When you hear people talk about the H-1B program, let's be honest, they're mostly talking about Indian tech talent. I mean, this one visa has been absolutely critical in building up India's modern IT industry and fueling America's own tech boom. It's a two-way street.
So who's doing all this hiring? Well, it's a fascinating mix. On one side, you have India's own IT powerhouses. Think TCS, Infosys, Wipro. They use the H-1B to bring their own employees over to work with US clients. And on the other side, you've got the US tech giants themselves, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, using it to snap up the best talent from around the world.
Okay, but here's the twist. As great as all this sounds, this deep connection has also created some serious problems. So let's get into why this amazing bridge for talent has also become, well, a major point of friction. You hear this phrase thrown around a lot in diplomatic circles, a major irritant, and it just perfectly captures the paradox, doesn't it? Something that's so good for business has turned into this constant political headache. So why? What's going on here?
The biggest problem really boils down to one word: scarcity. The US government only hands out 85,000 of these visas a year. That's it. But look at this. The number of people applying? It's often double, triple, sometimes even 4 times that number. With a gap that huge, the whole thing basically becomes a lottery. And that means a ton of uncertainty for everyone involved.
And that scarcity is what really fuels all the political complaints. And you hear them from both sides. In the US, the big worry is that the system is being used to replace American workers or to drive down wages. But from India's perspective, the concerns are totally different. They're worried about how random the lottery is and about the really tough rules for the spouses of H-1B workers who often can't even get a job.
And as if the lottery wasn't enough, the actual process has just gotten harder and harder. We're talking way more scrutiny, mountains of paperwork, stricter rules about how much you have to be paid, and just these incredibly long, stressful waits for a decision. It's a total gauntlet.
But hey, the story doesn't just end there with all this friction. Lately, there have been some real, concrete efforts from both sides, from both Washington and New Delhi, to actually fix these problems and, start repairing this bridge.
The policy around this visa has been a real roller coaster. After booming in the 2000s, things got tough in the late 2010s with the Buy American, Hire American policy, which really tightened the screws. But more recently, the whole climate has shifted. It's become much friendlier, and that's led to a bit of a diplomatic thaw.
And we're actually seeing some positive results from that. There's a new tech partnership, which is great for collaboration, and check this out. They launched a pilot program so people can renew their visas without leaving the country. That is a huge relief for workers. Plus, they're talking about finally raising that 85,000 cap and just making the whole system digital and more modern.
So where does all this leave us? What's the path forward? That brings us to our final and maybe most important section, this really delicate balancing act that both countries have to figure out.
This quote just nails it. Economic complementarity often collides with political protectionism. It sounds complicated, but it's simple. On the one hand, the U.S. economy needs this talent, and India's economy thrives on the partnership. That's the complementarity part. But then, bam, it slams right into political protectionism, that pressure to protect jobs at home.
So here's the bottom line. The whole future of the H-1B, and honestly a huge chunk of the US-India relationship, really comes down to finding a balance. It's all about building a system that's fair, that's based on merit, a system that celebrates the incredible value of global talent, but also takes those domestic concerns seriously.
And that leaves us with the million-dollar question, doesn't it? This is so much bigger than just a visa. It's about whether the world's oldest democracy and the world's largest democracy can figure this out. Can they navigate all these tricky pressures to build a genuinely shared future? Because make no mistake, the answer to that question is going to define their partnership for a long, long time.